I made a lot of money and I lost a lot of money pretty quickly, like in seconds. Some of the things I used to do with money is insane. If this can make me a millionaire now, then I've got to try it. It turned me into a psycho. I went broke like 4 times building it. I can only speak about this now because I'm over it. I built it up to like $500,000 maybe. Then one day something happened.
And we're back with another episode of the PBK podcast. Now, each and every week we have a special guest. This week is slightly different. We've got someone in a slightly different field, but he's super at home in a podcast studio. Owner of Jukebox Studios, part-time boxer, part-time footballer.
There's a lot of part-times.
Yeah, there's a lot of part-times. Part-time social media commentator, podcaster, commentator as now. Like, you're doing a lot.
Yeah.
How are you keeping up with all this?
Bro, do you know what? I've got like undiagnosed ADHD. Yeah. So like I have to be spinning as many plates as I can. And then I get to the point where I'm overwhelmed by all these plates. I drop a plate thinking I'm going to concentrate more on those and I just pick up another plate.
No, this is how, shall I tell you a story? Like, how I know that I've got the ADHD is because it's only when I think back to it. When I was in primary school, I was the only person out of like my whole, wherever it is, like the 2 classes, that had a chart on the wall called Kazy's daydreaming chart.
Oh, is it?
Because I'll just lose mad focus and they'll just find me looking out the window. I was saying, even with speaking about like Rion, if you go and speak to Rion, you like, my boxing coach, big up Ree,
big him up.
He'll flipping tell you that like, there's a window where we box. The amount of times a bus will drive past, I'm like, aye. And he'll be like, bro, focus.
In a fight.
In a spar.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So, yeah. But I think, ironically, like a lot of these things that people look at and be like, oh, like whether it's ADHD, dyslexia, you learn to use it as like your superpower.
100%. 100%. Like, there are certain things that are in me that obviously there are bad sides to it or like certain negatives to it, but there's also certain parts of it where it's just like, do you know what? If I never had that trait, I would never be whatever I am. Like, I am one of those people that can, in a bad way, I can just drop something. Whether it's a person or a thing, I can just drop it. But the way I pick things up is very quick as well, kind of thing. So I'm literally like that and trying to like, I've always struggled like trying to pigeonhole myself and just do that. It's never really worked for me. So, but I was academic growing up, and it never appealed to me. Even if I'm sitting in top set in all of these classes and stuff like that, I want to use it my way rather than go and sit in an office and like the money would never be enough for me to just focus on one thing, I think.
And I think you have to find, like in everything we do, it sounds very cliche, but find a way to do things in a way that works for you.
Yeah.
Like you can't just look at, because John did it like this and James did it like this, I'm just going to rinse and repeat. You've got to, within anything, find your own lane. Yeah. And in the property space, like that's very much the case. Like once you find something that works, don't get me wrong, like you got to go there, focus and be like, I'm just going to smash that particular thing. But until you really know what you like, it's hard to know where to focus.
It's impossible. It's impossible. And the thing is, sometimes something happens by accident. Like you had no plans for that. And then it just happened. Like I'm back putting on the gloves, boxing. I had no plans to do that. My plan was just to work in boxing.
Who got you? Like what did you see that made you say you're going to get back to boxing? So
do you know what? Yeah, there's a trainer called Luke Groves who trains like a lot of the Misfits guys actually. Okay. Ashley Raksu and Big Tobes as well. So like he trains a lot of the fighters. And I've known him from when I played football with him like years and years and years ago. And where he was like, oh, come to the gym, come to the gym, come to the gym. And it always seemed a little bit far away, just a little bit out of the way from where I was in Grove. Then I moved. And all of a sudden one day, I think Rants and Bants was in there going to training for a fight as well. And he said, come down, like just come down and like help Rants or whatever. And I put it in my sat nav and it said 12 minutes away. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's close. So I went there, put on gloves for the first time in God knows how long. And then, you know, like you have a little shakeout and all of a sudden it's just like, you know, yeah, I'll come back on Wednesday.
Yeah.
And it's like, and then before you know it,
the
bug came back. And I always, like I boxed a bit when I was younger and I know kind of what it requires of you. So because of that kind of like knowing what it takes to really to do it, because you're gonna get corned up. You're gonna have to hold some beatings. You're gonna have to go to like them kind of dark places, even without gloves, just running and training, and it's hard. It's horrible.
My first like 3 days, I said, yo, let me go and throw up real quick.
Most people will probably never be able to get good because they won't allow themselves the chance to even go through that. Like, there is no shortcut through it. You've got to go through major pain before you audition it out. So, and it's easier doing it, having done it before, but it's still harder because you know what it takes. So like, you're scared of what it takes. But I'm here now. I'm kind of.
So when do you reckon when we see in that ring walk? How long?
I reckon it's in the next 12 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. We're gonna be locked in for that. Do you know? Funnily enough, like where we first met was at your studio. I can't remember who I couldn't tell you whose podcast it was. It was a long time ago.
Podcast called
If you remember this,
Success.
You're mental, because I've done I've even been to your studio so many times for random podcasts. Do you know what it is?
Because I've had to edit so many. I'm just like, there's certain ones that I just have to look for the logo in the bottom left. I've just got it. Recipe to Success. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So we've done that, and I remember at the time we were talking, and at that point in time, we were kind of talking about property, and you were talking about why you weren't really looking to invest, and you were heavily focused on the watches at the time.
Yeah.
How was your kind of watches versus property relationship shifted?
Do you know what? I am a risk taker by nature, unfortunately. Yeah. So, but I also like stuff as well, and I fall in love with stuff that I shouldn't fall in love with. So, I bought watches originally knowing that they are a store of value.
Yeah.
But also knowing that they potentially go up and fluctuate. But at the time, the market was doing that. So in my head, it was just like, buy it, wear it, sell it, and you're already up, kind of thing. And then what happened was I started. Like you start with that one, like it's like
the one you just wanted for yourself.
Not even the one that you just had cash there for. Yeah. So you just got that. It wasn't anything special. I think it might have been a Batman or something like that. And then before you know it, my algorithms just showing me all these other things. I'm just like, all right, cool. I need the Pepsi. And then all of a sudden, it's just like, no, I only want rose golds, full rose golds now. And I just started spending a lot of money on watches. But in my head, it wasn't necessarily me buying liabilities, because I know I could get that money back quite quickly.
And I think also, like, the thing with watches and potentially gold and a few other asset classes, even property to a degree, even if you're not that versed in it, it's relatively safe as long as you buy at the right price to start with. Yeah,
it's about, so for example, I did have certain rules that I know a good deal usually when I see it, whether it's, I'm not buying a Ribena that's £2. I know it should be 150 or under. Like, I'll go to another shop. So because of that, I made sure I never, even when the watches were going a little bit crazy, I never went too far away from what the retail price was, because I know it's gonna drop at some point, and when it does, I still need to be in that range where I'm in a good kind of buying spot. So I turned down a lot of watches that I wanted because at the time the prices just didn't make any sense to me, even though the narrative and the feeling is that they're gonna keep going up. I just thought that margin is a little bit too small for me now. So I bought well. And then I ended up kind of using a lot of those watches as my deposit for a house, bought a house. And that was kind of my thing into property. And I don't think I realized how closely and tangent the housing market is, and the watch market, and probably all markets in general, like they go up together and they come down together.
So I can't even remember what podcast it was, but we were talking about like watches and stuff like that. Whose was it? It was Loons and someone else. What's their one called?
No Behavior. Oh, yeah.
All I heard is like they're talking about like this flipping Kazy guy. I've just heard property prices can go down as well as up. And I was like,
that sounds like Loons.
Yeah, I think it might have been.
Yeah.
I died. I said, oh yeah, fair enough. But it is like, for a lot of people that if you're in an industry and that's your thing, it seems like everything's really obvious.
Yeah.
But I think the reason like podcasts and just general just content are important is it sheds light on things you're just not aware of. Because mentally in my head, I don't know that much about watches. So all I ever hear about are people's wins. Them buying a watch at retail and it being worth double the price. So naturally, if you're not really like deeply involved in it, you just think that's what happens with watches.
Yeah, there were a couple watches that I sold that I lost a couple grand on. But it's in the grand scheme of it, it's nothing.
Yeah.
But there were a couple, definitely. There were some that I made a couple of big wins. And if I sold at the correct time,
yeah, but that's like the crypto world.
And let's not
like
even
talk
get
about
into
crypto. It done me as well. Because
no,
you know why it done
bad.
me? Because I started off being cautious, being like, you lot are all on some Mickey Mouse stuff. This doesn't make no sense. Like, I feel like I'm quite intelligent. So I'm looking at it like, you lot are just gambling. Then when I'm seeing the returns on the gambling, I'm saying, hey, what are you lot doing again? Like, tell me about the next one. And I was too late.
Yeah, it turned me into a cycle. I was in it for years, actually, since like 2017. So I'd been up and down and seen like how it kind of evolved as like a market.
Yeah.
But again, my appetite for risk is too big for certain things in certain situations. That is it. If this can make me a millionaire now, then I've got to try it. Because I just have to try it. If this like, and I spent a couple of like.
No, see, we're the opposite. I'm like, yo, like, let me run all my what if analysis. Let me make sure I've double checked, triple checked, based on worst case.
Crypto, the sentiment changes so quickly that you almost that becomes an afterthought.
Yeah.
And mine was it required that, like, I made a lot of money and I lost a lot of money pretty quickly, like in essence. But how I lost it was like in seconds by comparison, because I still made some massive risks. There was a day, looking back on it now, it's like crazy. Some of the things I used to do with money is insane. That it was the equivalent to putting 70 grand on red. I put 70 grand on something to move based off a guy on Twitter
that you've
never met, but I'm in a couple like groups of him, and like we've got a bit of
it
seems all right.
You know, for like the older generation, he's the equivalent. Do you know? No, to for why we actually the little bond. Do you know you're the man buying the dragon's egg down the pub?
Yeah,
off the guy who said,
That's me.
like
yeah, Diagon Alley.
Yeah,
that's me. That is me. But it worked.
Yeah,
and within a few days, it went from like, I don't know, 70 grand to maybe 210 grand. I'm up. All right, cool. Like, that's good. That's a good move. But another part of my personality trait is that I don't even allow myself to celebrate wins. They're not wins. I haven't got time to look and be sentimental and like be happy about things. I'm like, what's next? My attitude's always what's next. So it became what's next, and I built a portfolio up. And meanwhile, I've got loons and everyone else saying this is fake, it's not real money, and you know, like, but I'm like, no, I just took some out now and boom, and I built it up to like probably like $500,000, maybe it was $500,000 in there. And then obviously there's a lot of fluctuations and boom. And then one day something happened.
This episode of the podcast is sponsored by the PBK community. Now, if you're serious about starting or scaling your property portfolio, but you're feeling stuck or feeling like you're running in circles, trust me, I've been there. But listen, you don't have to go it alone. That's why I put together the PBK community, a space where you get real support, build real connections, and yield real results. Now, we're talking direct access to my power team like lawyers, brokers, architects, and so much more. Bi-weekly Zoom calls with industry pros and template contracts and bespoke tools to make sure you're not wasting time on the wrong moves. And exclusive property deals sourced specifically for members' needs. No fluff, no gimmicks, just support and resources you actually need to level up your property game. This isn't another networking group. It's an elite membership designed for property entrepreneurs who want to be on the inside. We're talking proven systems to streamline your operations, expert-led training to help you work smarter and faster, and a community of like-minded investors. So if you're tired of trying to do it all on your own and you're ready to start implementing the right systems right now, let's book a call with me and my team to chat about how we can make it happen. The link will be in the bio. Now back to the video.
And it was a thing called Terra Luna. I can only speak about this now because I'm over it. But I couldn't speak about this for a while. And I think I just threw like 150 grand at it. Like, boom. Like, it had gone down. By the way, it was what? Based off, it was down 99%. Like, in my head is, oh my gosh, all I need is the tiniest recovery, like a little bounce, and that's a mil. That's all I was thinking. All I need is a bounce. Like, I thought, all right, it's down 99%. Even if that just recovers 20% of what it was, I am out of here.
Good.
Studio's closed. That kind of drip.
I'm in the Caribbean now.
That's it. But what I didn't realize is I didn't do the SWOT analysis. I didn't do it because I forgot that even from 99%, you can go down a further 99%, and that's exactly what happened. It turned my 150 grand in the space of a few hours to around £6.
And this is the thing that I didn't get about crypto, that there's like, with property, there is always an intrinsic value in the asset.
Yeah.
Like, you can mess it, like, you can literally, like, you can destroy your house. There's certain words you use, you end up on a watch list.
Yeah, okay,
You could destroy your house.
Yeah.
And the land still has value. It's still worth half what it was, even with no house there.
Of course.
Like, you can mess up everything and there's still a value. Whereas the difference with the crypto is you can really hit that net zero.
And
where it will tell you,
honest, no one knows what it is.
1 million coins and they're worth 6 cents.
It's basically the same as FIFA coins because no one knows. I've never seen an Ethereum in my life. Yeah. I don't know what it does. I don't know what any of this stuff does. Even like when they say stuff has real world, like,
yeah,
whatever it is, so it just doesn't make any sense. I've never seen any of it.
Like, so the blockchain stuff, I kind of understand.
Okay, yeah.
And I say that because I use these podcasts to understand new things.
Yes.
So we had a guy called Michael Harding on and was kind of explaining to me about, obviously, like, the benefits of like blockchain and tokenization and being able to like making stuff changeable. So you're a Chelsea fan, right?
Yeah.
So there's a wall in Chelsea that was a wall for sale, but rather than sell it as a wall, they put like a mural of when Chelsea won the Champions League on it, and you could buy, and it kind of explained it to me, you could buy an individual brick. So you own part of this art piece that also had a real world value, but then you could exchange it based on the value of the overall piece.
Yeah, it makes sense. And everything makes sense in theory until it's time to sell.
Yeah.
And I wonder how you sell that brick. Is there always
going to be market like liquidity for it?
100%.
And that's kind of, I guess, the concern for a lot of people, that is this actually real, or am I just buying like hypothetical money?
Yeah.
But the argument's also that if you go and watch, do you ever watch like The Last of Us or something like that? Like one of these, like,
do you know what? I'm terrible when it comes to like,
I know what it is. Any like apocalyptic kind of series.
Yes.
The second the power's out, there's no more like central government. What do all these notes in our pocket mean? Like, it's where's the food? Where's the water? Where's the guns? Where's the whatever you need for security?
Yeah.
Like everything else, all of this idea of money and currency is very...
Facts. It's like very, it's like...
It's mythical.
It is mythical because it's not really what matters, 100%. But whilst the stuff that really matters doesn't matter, it matters. So
yeah,
I'd rather have it than not have it.
Of course. It's a very interesting thing. But so you've dabbled in different types of investment vehicles.
Yeah.
Watches as a starting point, and I think whilst I'm not a massive watch advocate, just because I live in London and I'm 5'8", it's not always the safest. You know, you're tall, you kind of say, "Oh,
yeah." I fancy myself. I've always said, like, for example, I do get it though, because London has probably become like the hotspot across the whole world in terms of like watch theft and how kind of
how you get that, because there's this concept of like enjoyment. And it's difficult to enjoy something when your head's constantly got to be on a swivel to like, who's in the building? Is this the right place? And then it's also very easy to get comfortable. And I know what I'm like as well. I'll go from, I'm just going to wear it on special occasions, to, I'm just going down the gym. No, it's only around the corner.
Yeah, I've always said this is a, like this one in particular, this is my favorite of the lot, yeah? This one is like, this is a kidnap job. You're not getting the watch. You got to take me. like you have to take me. But yeah, I'm also, I understand like there are some things where it's just like, don't be silly. But then at the same time, I'm also like, no, it's mine and I want to enjoy it. So I guess that will be one of the things that that makes the watch market kind of do that, because it's getting riskier by the day wearing them. I wonder if there's a way around. We know there's probably only like, I don't know, $5,000 worth of actual gold in this. Yet it's worth whatever it's worth. I wonder if they can come up with some kind of something where it's just like you pay the difference to, or you pay the $5 of what it's worth.
You know how I know like they can't really do anything, because even they got to a point where, you know, growing up our age, mobile phone thefts were like the thing. That was it. Like people's phones were getting robbed left, right, and center. Kind of got to a point with phone blocking and everything. It kind of went off a cliff. Unfortunately, somebody's phone got robbed outside here like 20 minutes ago. Just on a bike. Snatched out the hand.
Happened to someone I know 2 weeks ago.
That's, you see?
And because the phone was open, they got in, they stole the crypto.
And do you see what else it is? You see chasing an e-bike in this nice weather.
Dark,
you look crazy. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
So it is like the watches, but what I would say is like, in terms of, if you don't know what to do with your money, and you know that, look, I'm not the best saver. Like I've maxed out my life, or so my lifetime ISR, I've put my money into that. I've maybe bought some stuff. But I know this money's gonna burn a hole in my pocket. At least it's a just good way of like depositing wealth to 100%. Not make it so liquid that I can just go and spend on anything.
It's a good problem to have. If you've just got like 40, 50 grand just knocking around, like you're just not sure what to do with it, and like you can't be bothered to start thinking of business ideas and stuff like that and investment, then it is a good safe value. I think so. There will be plenty of people out there that will probably tell me that it's
I think like, again, there's always going to be a purpose for everything. It's just the right place, and you're an example of being able to then dispose of those assets to buy a property, different type of investment vehicle. We've got a few people that are in the community that previously played football, like they kind of left football with just 4 nice watches. Fast forward, you know, liquidated those, invested in property, and are now flipping properties on a regular basis. But if they didn't buy the assets when they did, whether or not they've gone up or gone down, they wouldn't have parked that wealth to be able to go and invest
100%.
At a later date. So you got to look at what works for you. Your actual background, though, in property is through commercial property, in terms of the studio spaces. So you're an investor in property in terms of the studios. When did you actually first start them?
This is the 10th year now. So the first one, 2015, was a kind of like dingy. It wasn't dingy actually, but it was kind of underground, a little bit dark, like a little bit creepy until you got to the studio itself. And it was, I got it at a really good price. That was probably the days where you could, you know, like you could just walk around and you could barter. And I managed to get a really decent deal. The studio was kind of like born from my bedroom, if you like, from my studio flat. And I wanted to make it more serious, because, you know, like friends of friends are now coming to your house.
And you don't want that.
And it's just like, I was already a little bit like too well known, if I'm totally honest, in terms of like what I was getting up to. So I was just like, do you know what? I can't have people knowing where I live. So I thought, all right, let's get a studio space. And that was it. It was born out of that. I think I paid such a cheap rate at the time. It would have been like, I think it was like $850 plus VAT. It was like a 50 square meter room, which is like crazy when you look at what the cost is now. For that same space.
Of course.
But I managed to get a really good price, and that was it. Like once it had legs, it wasn't going to stop.
And obviously over time as well, I think you were able to like develop the space in terms of going from a big space to cutting it up to individual studios.
Well, no, in fact, you know what? This is the studio I have now is the 4th version of Jukebox Studios. So it started in that place where it was $850, and then the building got bought by like a developer, and they were going to turn it into flats, and it ended up that they didn't turn it into flats. They didn't get the permit or whatever it was to turn it into flats. So everyone in that building basically was given 30 days notice. And I went to somewhere else in Acton, and that was kind of small, but it was like a panic buy. essentially, because I've got
'Cause you've already got
30
the business.
days. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've got the business. I've got 30 days to figure it out and get it built and make it work. Moved there, and that was where like Three Shots to Tequila's first episode was, and a couple podcasts were in there, but I wasn't in there for too long because I didn't like it, and I spend more time in those studios than anyone. And if I hate it, then I've got to move, kind of thing. And then I moved back to my area, back to Ladbroke Grove. Still one room, and that was where filming started happening. That before that, no one filmed podcasts; they were still audio only.
Yeah.
And that was where we started to
actually.
film podcasts. That was where Halfcast or HC first got cameras and started to film. And all of a sudden, things start to move. And that the whole podcast world starts to boom a little bit off there because it becomes something you can watch on YouTube now, not just listen to. And I was there for a few years, and it got so busy in there because I only had one studio that it was becoming detrimental to me because I'm having to turn down and turn away so much business. I probably made another couple of studios rich based off like what I was saying I couldn't have. And I thought I've got to like increase the size here and upsize, and I found something that was just across the road. And it was like 4 times the size of what I had. Maybe it's more than that, actually. It was definitely a bit of more than I could chew. I went broke like 4 times building it. And that was the one that everyone sees today, which is like the four
commercial
studios.
renovation isn't cheap.
Oh, bro, even just the contracts, even just the deposit. It was the week that my daughter was born. I remember, and I had like the deposit was like 22 grand, and I was like, that's before I haven't even got a key, and they're just holding on to that kind of thing. And then, but it's like scared money makes no money. Like you have to do it in order to do it. But I'm glad I made all of those decisions, because without it, a lot of things just wouldn't have happened. Would have like I'd have a different life, and loads of people like that have come out of that studio would have a different life.
You had some big podcasts come through the studio,
not just
right?
podcasts, artists.
Yeah.
There were so many artists where it's just like they weren't gonna pop, or not, maybe they weren't. I'm not gonna take credit and say that, but as in it happened that way. The butterfly effect made it happen that way. You were here, and this happened, and that happened, and boom, 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 and then went boom. There was a lot of careers that started that way, and it wouldn't have happened that way if it weren't for the studios being built.
Yeah, and I think it is like there being a location, like a place for people to go, a hub. We had a guy called CK Flash on recently, and like he used to be a DJ on what was Choice, like before Jenny Francis, proper prime time. It's like between him and his brother, loads of like the Esky and all of that. That was their generation, but they presented like the opportunity where they were some of the first people to get So Solid played on radio.
Sick.
And it's like a lot of that whole kind of process that when you build something, you create opportunity for others, and then for yourself as a byproduct, you become known as somebody who creates opportunity.
Exactly.
And it, like blessings,
100%. It has like the best, like almost side effects. You know, at the start, it's just I just want to build a studio, and part of the reason for me building a studio, actually, it wasn't money motivated at all. This was out of necessity and what my area needed at the time. There were only youth club studios or really expensive like island studios. That there was some, and we had some big ones which were owned, I don't know, £80 an hour. No one had that when we were young growing up. So I wanted to almost make a halfway house, something that never prices people out, which is why even now I can't be beat on price, because it's part of the ethos. And sometimes it's annoying because me as Savage Dan might subsidize Jukebox Studios. Just suppose it hits like a whatever, where it's a bad week or whatever it is, I'm just like, in essence, I could just bring my prices up, but it's not part of the ethos of the studio. If I want to make money, I've got many other ways that I can do it. So because of that, I just like to facilitate, even when it comes down to ownership and stuff like that. So many people are just like, you should do a network and blah, 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 and eat off people off the, or you know, on the back end and stuff like that. And my thing was just like, I would if that was the motivation behind this studio, but it's not. Like I gotta keep that part of it true to what I actually built it for. Just for myself. And I've got like a long list of things on my phone that I would love to achieve, like in terms of like businesses and money and stuff like that. If I need to make money, I'll just dip into one of those rather than price people out. You know, like I don't want to own someone's content. You did this, like you were the driving force behind that. I don't like it when people just take, if that makes sense.
I think it's important. I think if you're true to yourself, if people act like with integrity, like your personal social credit, like not your actual credit, but that
100%.
social credit that you have, people say, oh, that's he's good for it. So like if we've got an idea, if now whether it's a brand wants to work alongside you, whether it's a company that wants to work with you, they're a lot more likely to, because they've seen your personal track record within and around the community. Moving from obviously your commercial place, which like you said, even though there's ups and downs, it's always good to have a good cash flow in business, because it allows you to make your riskier moves and be your riskier person with a bit more peace of mind. Obviously, bearing in mind you had that success there, like socially things are going very well. Why was it still important for you to actually invest in property?
I got 3 kids, you know what? Like I grew up in council housing, like pretty much everyone I know, kind of thing. So it wasn't like a thing of, you know, oh, I've got this like this financial literacy here that has been given to me by my parents, and you know, I kind of had to make it easier for my kids by buying. It would have been easier to just stay renting to a certain degree because it's cheaper and whatever it is, but it was always, I had a plan in my head. It was always go and get the house, and that is where that is home, if that makes sense. It's annoying though, because my plan was always to buy a house outright. I didn't want a mortgage. I don't want, even though it's not sensible, that's how I've always done things like that. Splash all your money and start from scratch is how it's worked for me. I'm not sure why, where it's probably far more beneficial to, but even if you've got all the money.
That might be your mental balancing act between like mad scientist, so I'm going to do everything all at once, to actually let me know I don't owe anyone anything.
Exactly. That is literally that's the point, because people with better financial literacy than me will tell me, even if you've got all the money, don't use all the money, because then you're not liquid enough, kind of thing. Whereas my broke me that I grew up being, I've probably been broke for longer than I've had money, maybe. Is always telling me, go broke because you're good for it. Spend it all. Do it so that you don't owe anyone anything. Do it, and then tell that guy to figure it out. He'll figure it out, and I'm that guy. So to just go again. Like when the chips are down, I find something usually. So I think because of that, I've always had that kind of half broke mindset of buy it, so that you don't have big monthly outgoings. And I still ended up with stupid, massive monthly outgoings. But it's all part of it. But I needed it to for my family, man, so that my kids have something. And
have you enjoyed, because you've been doing some refurbishments as well,
it's almost done. Today I built my barbecue this morning.
You've been enjoying it?
You've
been sending me some updates. I've been seeing what you've been doing.
Yeah, so like obviously what I bought was a bomb site. But it had lots of potential. And I wanted something that could be extended, and like I want a blank canvas. I prefer it that way rather than sometimes buying a turnkey and it's not quite to your taste and you wish that it was that way.
You're paying money for a finished product. You're actually gonna have to rip down and start again in places.
So and with this, I know loads of people have like a lot of like bad experiences with builders and with buy-in and all the I had a lot of luck on my side when it came to this part, and I needed it as well, because I did the thing of, all right, cool, I put down a massive deposit essentially, bought the house, and I left like, I don't know, I had maybe 100 grand for a rental at the time, but I was looking at how long it would cost me, and maybe I'll find another 50 and whatever it is. But what I was getting quoted at the beginning for this stuff was a joke. And then luckily, someone's recommended someone to me. And as you know, with building, it's all about the timing of it. Have they got the time and space, and do they want to do this now? And someone put me onto some Polish people, and it just went like that. I met them within a couple of days at the property. And like it was just all very relaxed. Boom, 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 boom. Obviously the money part wasn't, because it was like $5 a week cash every Friday. And I was like, all right, cool. I've got some of that already, so we're good. But once we get 20 weeks in, I'm cooked. But the whole process was easy-ish because they weren't lazy.
How involved, like how regularly were you at the...
I was there often. So obviously for the first couple of weeks, there's no need. They took the roof off straight away within a day, pretty much. Like they took the roof off in like a storm. I was like, whoa, like these guys are moving mad, and they were moving really quick. Knocked out the back wall, started the frame, and getting everything right. So for that part, there's not much I need to be there to consult on, because it's just that part. It's like the next parts. I found myself there 2-3 times a week sometimes, just either looking or gradually moving my stuff over, because I didn't have the thing of being able to like move out of one place and move into another. I was renting here and still paying the mortgage there and paying the builders. So it got dark. It got dark. But it gave me the opportunity.
See, do you monitor your stress levels on that route?
I've only had this for 2 weeks.
We need to get a retrospective one, because I know there's periods where you would have looked at it and it was said recovery, like in the
2%.
red zone.
Yeah.
Stress levels off the charts. Resting heartbeat, never resting.
No rest. Well, it was it was this one. I always knew that I can make stuff happen.
Yeah,
but this situation here let me know that I really can, if that makes sense. Because there were times where it's just like, you got to put on a brave face, and it's just like, all right, cool. Obviously, you always get those phone calls where it's just like, I need 10 grand, not 5 today. Yeah. And it's like, all right, cool.
Yeah, you say cool, and then you get off the phone and say...
And all of a sudden, you have to find it. Or something happens, or you get the little thing, or like, we've hit an issue. It's an extra 10 grand. And I only hit a couple of those because I was almost prepared for that, because I knew the price I was given is not the price that will be paid. I know it will be more than that. I just wondered how far over we're going to go past that. And it was a good experience. Looking back at the time, my stress levels were through the roof, because I also had just had a baby. Yeah. Like just had a baby. So it was a head turner. It was something I learned from 100%.
I think it's just a reminder that how difficult it can be. Like in terms of advice, I would say, even if you get on with people, try and make sure you got the right contracts in place.
I had no contract.
Yeah, so don't do that. We're going to play a game called Don't Do That. Like, did you go and see some of their previous projects?
Nah, just online.
Yeah, don't do that. Like, and also, if somebody can say, I can start tomorrow, a lot of the time...
It was in 2 weeks.
It's a bad sign. Sometimes, like you said, the stars just align.
And that one, it did. And I had reference from someone who they basically done work with my friend's dad. And done a lot of his properties commercially. Yeah. And they got like some school contracts as well. So they do a lot of that stuff.
So you kind of knew that you
and they were at a certain level. Yeah. I wasn't there, but
they were doing a 6-figure project.
People have seen their work. They know their stuff. And when a man just pulls up to the house with a cigarette, not a care in the world. I was like, he knows his stuff. He knows his stuff.
Just as a general note, I don't think someone having a cigarette is a sign of qualification. But if it makes you feel better.
No, I remember thinking, this was the day where like he'd come to see the property, and like they just do that scanning thing where they start looking, and
they will happily smoke in your house, by the way.
They were smoking, chain smoking whilst doing this. And I remember thinking to myself, it's a bit mad, like. Obviously the house isn't my house yet in terms of like
but it's still my house.
But it's still my house. You didn't even ask me if you could smoke. Like he just lit it.
Yeah.
And I thought, he's serious.
Sometimes pick your battles though.
Yeah, exactly, 100%. Because then there were certain weeks towards the end where it's just like, you can't have your 5 today, Yeah. You're gonna have to wait till next Wednesday.
And I think, do you know what I was gonna ask you? How do you vent about that? Because obviously you got like a lot of friends around you that are doing very well as well, which is amazing. But also like as a property person, if your friends are not doing property, and your complaint is, I've got to find an extra 10K to my builders for this week. So a lot of people, that just sounds like bragging.
Yeah.
Like,
do you know what? I don't really vent that much, But simply, I'll vent to myself, or I think, but I'm somebody who doesn't, my mum's always said it to me as well. Like, I don't look for help or a soundboard. I don't even need a soundboard. Like, I prefer to just problem solve it by myself. If I speak to you about it, it's because I'm hoping you've got a solution. So if I'm saying money's long, then it's because I know you got bread for me. I need to hold 20 bags, please. Like, yeah, I'll give it back to you next week. But yeah, I don't really. I didn't have anyone to vent to. I internalize things. That's one of my like bad traits.
Yeah. Now you got to try and work on that. It's important. It's important to be like, as particularly as men, like we just live in this bubble of I'm gonna fix it.
Yeah,
I'm gonna fix it. And you get to a point where like the brain's mad interesting, because if you get to a point where you get in your own head, the only thing that can fix it is you, but it's injured. It needs to rest.
Yeah.
So you do have to try and just for yourself, try and vent a little bit more.
100%. You're right. And I know it as well, but I'm so stubborn.
Yeah.
I'm so stubborn. I think we can
tell.
Yeah.
Okay. So talking about being stubborn, has it put you off, or do you still want to invest in more property?
No, I definitely want to invest in more property. I don't think anything that is good or like has worth or anything like that, I don't think it's easy. I think I've had it as easy as I possibly could given the circumstances. There were no nightmare situations. But I have been lucky with the timing of when I bought, because I bought when it was really low. Interest rates were still a little bit high, but I only went on a 2-year fixed. So that will come off any second now, kind of thing.
Yeah, and they're looking potentially to maybe hold up, because there's a lot of talk that there's going to be quite a lot of competition between lenders, you know, and rates potentially are going to fall. Base rates potentially will drop twice over the next sort of 12 months.
No.
Exactly, so, and 2 more times. So potentially there is going to be a bit of a bloodbath. So you might see low rates.
Yeah, so that's what I managed to get it in that kind of perfect sweet spot where the house prices are dipped, but the interest rates have just started to come down a bit as well. So if I had gone 6 months earlier, I would have been on a 2% higher rate than what I was. So I caught the good sweet spot, knowing that it might be a bit of a tougher couple of years. But after that point, it's clear skies, and that's what it's looking like. So I have also, when you look at like what I did to the house and the value of it, if it was to get valued now, I've probably done a good job. As in like, I reckon that's easily a couple hundred up from what I bought it. No, more than that. I reckon it's closer to 300 grand.
Yeah, so you've kind of got 200% return on investment on the money you put in.
Obviously minus everything that was paid and blah blah blah. But it, I think that was like, if that's what property development is, which it is.
Yeah.
I'm in.
You're in, yeah.
I'm in. That's it. I'm here.
And by the way, there's no more Shibu Inu, no more Ibu Shibu. Like, you've got a baseline now where you can work off of a little bit more peace of mind. Do you know, actually, yeah, so I know we met and we spoke about a few things when we met and kind of chopped up a few times. But then there was a time I realized, this guy is responsible. He's responsible for the best video on the internet I've ever seen. You see, if you haven't seen it, I don't know if they're going to be able to put it there somewhere. I have to chat to the editing team. But the description of explaining, because for those that don't know, like, if you ask me my favorite book, you're not going to hear Rich Dad, Poor Dad. You're not going to hear something else in that sort of self-help, whatever. You're going to hear Harry Potter.
100%.
And then when I heard my brother explain Harry Potter so eloquently and sign it off with, "He's the bravest," and your voice quivered, I said, yes, I found a friend. But I've got this might be a time for some of you to look off, by the way, because this is now for me. We're going into the shadow realms of, like, what was it about Harry Potter that really it said, this is good?
Do you know what? I am always my imagination is like larger than life. So whenever I would have to read a book, or if I wanted to read a book or whatever it was, I didn't want to read about the human and her husband's issues, and it's too real worldish for me. I didn't like that. I need magic, dragons. I need stuff that's otherworldly from young, actually. Like, when I think of some of the books that I had as a kid, they were all really magical. I like magic, and I like things that aren't of this world, if that makes sense. So Harry Potter, He was probably the same age as me when it come out.
Listen, I'm not gonna lie. There was a point where I was thinking, "Is my letter coming? Like, am I gonna get a letter?" Like,
Well, I've got ones. I've got numerous ones. I've got the elder one. I can turn on my TV with it if I want.
But I remember even going through periods. I thought, if I concentrate hard enough, can I just move something? Like,
I've been there. I've been 9 3/4 staring at the wall, hoping it lets me there. And then I realized it wouldn't be good for the book if I was there.
Yeah, I'm gonna mess it up.
There'd only be 3 films or so if I was Harry.
Why?
I would have killed Voldemort early doors. We would never have made it.
When
to
would you
Deathly
have
Hallows.
killed Voldemort? As a 12-year-old?
Definitely by Goblet of Fire. I'd have got him.
What, in the graveyard?
I might have got him early doors when he was on the back of a head.
Yeah.
You can't beef me from the back of someone's head. I'm sorry. I don't care if I'm 12 or not.
But I don't think Harry really understood what was going on at that point.
Yeah, but do you know what?
So you would have been street smart. You would have kind of knew what
I'm
was going on.
way more street. Well, Harry,
You would have known that he's done the mum and dad.
Let's be totally honest. There might be less films even if Ron Weasley was Harry Potter. Just in terms of street smarts and who's on what. Yeah. Harry, at points, has become the most frustrating character.
Yeah.
Because of him always wanting to do something that he shouldn't do. He's just, but he, by accident, trips himself into like a gold mine every single time.
Yeah. He is like, he's a proper protagonist. Like everything that happens because he's Harry. Like if he's Neville,
it's different.
I don't even think he's making it through first year.
100%. But it had to be just like that. I'm not sure if it was designed to be exactly like that, but Harry was the perfect. Everything about the Harry Potter world is perfect.
So, how did the films live up to your expectation of the book? So,
at first I was proper underwhelmed by some of them. And then when there's parts of films that aren't even in a book, or when they miss out something that was in a book that was not in the film, I'm just like, how did you miss that bit kind of thing? But there is so much detail in those books that I guess you've got to pick what you're going with.
But there's some bits where you're just like, come on, man, you done Crookshanks dirty. Like,
it's true. It's true. It's true.
Doing loads of moves.
Like, they've got so many characters in the book that won't ever see the light of day, but they might in the next thing that's coming out.
Yeah. Hey, they was mad about a black snake though.
I'm not even sure how I feel about a black snake. Do you know what it is?
Can I be honest?
Yeah.
No, I can't be. But
yeah, I know what you're gonna say. Safe out because I don't want to get crucified for it online, but I just think you start to set a dangerous precedent. Are we gonna get a white 2-pack in 2030? If it's different if it's not fictional. These characters were written and described by JK.
Yeah.
If it's a white guy with a pale face and long hair, that's what.
And it's also
be.
What was weird is everybody else had a real likeness. Like it's the character they casted for Filch.
Yes.
Great Filch.
Yeah. And no doubt Snape will be able to act the role.
I think he's going to smash it.
I think
I'm going to end up saying I was wrong.
Of course. No, but I don't think that would be a wrong or right. He is going to be good for the role. 100%. Is it controversial? Yes, but only because of how he's actually described in the book. That's it. What we know Snape to be.
Yeah, nice. It's going to be good though. We've got a lot to look forward to. Listen,
100%.
Unfortunately, we can't turn this into the Harry Potter podcast. We ain't got no Patreon, but if you did have it, that's where this would be for the behind the scenes. Appreciate you. For people that want to connect with you, find out more about what you do, they might want to come down to the fight, they might want to come down to the studio. How can people connect with you?
Savage Dan 10, Jukebox Studios, London, but I'm very rarely on there. I'm probably the worst social media guy going. Yeah. I posted today for the first time since June last year, you know.
Whoa. I feel like it's, do you know what? And I find it's so many people that work on the other side of the camera that actually when you go and check their socials, but if you're doing good, I guess you're just busy.
And do you know what it is? I just don't really, it's like I don't get too involved with the online world and let it get I don't get my endorphins from there. I'd rather go train and punch someone in the face and get my endorphins from there, or football. But I do have to remember to start. It is a real world, isn't it? It's not their real world, but it is.
It's like a lot of what I think, and I tell people this all the time, like I got loads of people that are successful, not very successful, but like, I don't want to do the social media, I don't want to do it. And I'm like, I hear you. But do you know what? I don't want to do it. And almost everybody doesn't want to do it. But my options are I either spend 100K a year plus with a marketing company,
Yeah,
or do it yourself.
100%.
And there's Hayley. She always says to everyone, Kaz, to everyone else, we're too broke to be invisible right now, and we've got to be present.
I needed that, you know.
Yeah,
I'm too broke to be invisible. Facts.
Yeah, that's a big facts. So that has been another episode of the PBK podcast. We are back each and every week with an amazing guest. If you haven't already, all the normal stuff, like, subscribe, any questions you got for us, Harry Potter related in particular, let us know in the comment section. We'll be back next week with another special guest. Peace.